Quilana, Quilla, Karak, Yonka, Kulbari, Bia Beta Mokin, Manyini,
Kurlang, Ngam, Mort, Ngalak College.
At the end of this, I want you to just say your name, okay? Kaya, Nyan, Quirrell. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
A lot of them did say to me today that they feel very happy when they sing the song. It's the first time that they've learnt Noongar language, and they feel inspired. They feel that it's really good for their heart.
Sometimes it's very, very nice to do stuff like that. It really breaks the ice. Some people feel like they're too cool to do anything. You know, they're just like, oh, I'm not going to take part in any of this. It's super corny.
Marong, which means love. Dunj dunj. It's a funny word, isn't it? It means all together.
We mainly get a very positive response from most people wherever we go. Sometimes we might get a negative reaction from some Aboriginal people when they see non-Indigenous people singing songs in language. And it's just because they had it built out of them as, you know, if they were a stolen generation. And then there was like a lot of shame around speaking a language. And so now to see non-Indigenous people singing their language causes a bit of negativity from them.
Sometimes I feel scared when I use the language because I get worried that I'm not going to do it right. Their heart may be hurt.
You know, educating our kids at a young age, I think it's really important. Covering things like the 67 referendum, telling them who A.O. Neville is and the policies that he brought into Australia with the 1950 Act.
My grandmother was never allowed to speak her language as she was from the stolen generation.
Speaking to them, you know, truthfully about the stolen generation and why our language was taken from us, and the stolen generations weren't allowed to speak their language, weren't allowed to dance their dances or sing. Anything to do with it, practicing the culture wasn't allowed in the missions.
So she's 92 years old now, but she was taken away as a child and grew up in a mission. So did my father and my uncles, where they weren't allowed to speak their language or practice their culture. That meant dancing as well.
And so it was around that time that the language was really sort of forgotten and lost. It's really affected the generations due to intergenerational trauma that was caused from people like my grandmother being taken away, my father, my aunties and uncles, all a part of the stolen generation, being taken from their families and their mothers and fathers, really affected them, caused a lot of trauma, and so that trauma has carried down to their children, to their children, to their children. Some of my families still don't speak the language because there's still a bit of shame around speaking the language, because that's what was instilled in them when they were in the missions. It was shameful for them to speak their language, and if they spoke it, then they would be flogged for it. If everyone has an understanding of that history, of that part of our history, then people would understand a lot more about my people, about the Aboriginal people, and why my people are the way they are today. My nan only just started speaking or being okay to speak her language again about 7 years ago, when she saw my cousin Kyle get up and do a Shakespeare sonnet in the Noongar language, and she was just overwhelmed, and she cried throughout the performance that day. And since that day, she's been embracing it and sort of doing a lot of healing on herself, and happy to speak the language again. It's taken my choir, Imagine and Warner, 13 years to be accepted in the community. But now people can see that what we're doing, they understand what we're doing, and we are bridging the gap.
The students have been very enthusiastic about learning things. We've done a lot of these workshops all around the schools, and this is definitely like a different experience to what we usually do, mainly because we're learning a song, which is a song that Nicole had written, and then adding our parts into the song and making a big collaboration between Noongar and non-Indigenous people. So we're going to do the same thing that we did for Nija Noongar Whadjuk. We're going to go through the first round, and then on the second round you guys join in. Sound good?
Yeah.
You guys are very fast learners. In some cases it can be uncomfortable to touch upon this history. We want to be able to make it as comfortable as possible, and we do so through music. It's one of the best ways that I know how. I was brought up on music and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Two Aboriginal women from different areas last week, and they had seen us sing as a choir, and they were really, really happy to hear a whole bunch of white people singing in Noongar language, because it's something that they had lost and that they weren't allowed to, and they were really grateful to hear it.
I noticed a lot of schools that we did this year for NAIDOC and during the year. I noticed that there's a lot of people, a lot of kids singing in choirs, and very proud to sing in Noongar language, because there's a lot of Noongar men and women that have created some really wonderful songs, particularly for schools that can really sing along to.
Whadjuk means land and court means heart. So the poetic translation for this song is, our heart is in the land and the land is in our heartbeat.
Our songs are very, very uplifting and spiritual and healing. And so, some of those people who might have felt that way do begin the healing process when they hear, a group of white women and men singing songs in language.
2, 3, 4.
Some of the songs they're healing, but they're sort of saying, we're sorry this has happened to you. So that comes through in the music as well. It's subtle and gentle and powerful.
It's been great to see that Nicole's passion for the song that she's written has been conveyed through to the students, and that comes across in their singing of the words. And we've had a bit of a yarn outside with them, and they've talked about the fact they feel privileged to have learnt the language, and that they feel inspired by the language and are feeling that connection to country.
And that's how it's meant to make you feel when you're speaking our language. You're meant to feel all these things, welcomed and inspired and connected, and have a connection to country, and it opens up your mind to want to learn other things.
Somebody did use the word Whadjuk and said they felt welcome. So that's the aim of this, is to, and part of reconciliation is for the students to understand that language does connect us to the people and to the culture.
1, 2, 3. The ocean and estuary, the rivers and the lakes, a sky so blue welcomes you.
It's been difficult at times, but once you get a basic understanding, it can be quite easy. Very fun to learn.
It's been pretty interesting because it's kind of just sprung upon us. They're like, oh yeah, you've learnt this song, but we're going to bring you into a big choir and make you sing it in front of a bunch of people. It's pretty cool, so it's been really exciting. These kids are doing such a fantastic job. It's generating thoughts, and it's just fairly amazing that pretty darn intelligent kids.
And with the language, you get the people and the culture, and it's really rewarding.
And it's not like a language from another country, it's our language.
Yeah, it's our heritage.
I've been learning the language for a while now. I'm not Indigenous, I'm not Noongar. I think the more I learn, the less I think that I actually know. I start to understand how much more there is to it, and all of the other things that I need to do to really truly honour it.
At first it was pretty difficult, but...
Yeah, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I originally didn't actually understand what I was singing. We actually learnt what it was about and learnt all the different words in it, so we could understand what they were saying.
it's really nice knowing that they have a language too and we can learn it.
So everyone here is learning the language all together, and obviously there's going to be mistakes because that's how we learn, from our mistakes, right? So don't be afraid to say the language, what you learn and what you hear, okay?
I think it's really important for the school to bring in Aboriginal people to work with, so they're actually working with authentic sources. Della has been asked to translate the words. Nicole wrote them in English, Della's translated them into Noongar, and I think that Newman, every step along the way, has always consulted with elders to make sure that they present is authentic.
Just looking at the history of what's happened in Australia with Aboriginal people, acknowledging what happened, joining together and working together and moving forward together.
Nicole Body wrote the song. She wanted it to be inclusive so that all Aboriginal people and non-Indigenous people could sing the song together and feel like they all have ownership.
While listening to it, actually think about the lyrics, actually listen.
It's about being united, being strong as a family of Australians, and respecting the ancients, our ancestors. Let's face it, we all live in Australia, this ancient landmass. So the song is about that, unity and strength and love.
Because we're singing in Noongar today, rather than at the beginning, we're going to put an at the beginning.
On the 9th, we are going to have a big grouping mass choir sing, and we're going to sing this song, and it's going to be more or less unveiled to the world.
Having that eerie sort of primeval sound of the didgeridoo is always fascinating, you know. And when you're singing in Noongar language, and you've got some great musicians backing the choir, I think we're going to have about 140 strong choir, and then you bring in the didgeridoo, and with my years of experience, I can slip into this type of thing quite easily. It's always a pleasure for me to contribute and bring that extra sort of magic to this song that we're doing.